Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Critical Points.
As usual, I am D2R Legacy.
And I'm Abby, and we have a lot to talk about this week, including CL3, ESL qualifiers, and CFE influencer programs.
So please like and subscribe, and let's get it.
Today we start our legacy.
This past week, I got to sit down and talk to AWKN from Infinity Forge about his success in running his org and his endeavors into the critical ops scene. Check out the interview here. What's up, guys? Welcome to a special interview. We are continuing the org series. Today we have AWKN from Infinity Forge with special guest. I have Coco. Say what's up, guys.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for having us, The Legacy.
Absolutely. So let's get started. Let's get a background history of how you started Infinity Forge, what Infinity Forge means to you personally, the teams that you guys have. I love you guys' Forged for Greatness slogan. It's beautiful. So let's hear everything started.
Well, it's a little convoluted, but I guess it's also a little bit simple at the same time. Simply put, at least I know it's the same formula for like Gangstars and just one other organization that comes off the top of my head. Is it essentially the organization started as a team in Vainglory, a competitive team, quote unquote. I use the quotes because, well, I didn't realize very early on that it's not competitive. Vainglory is not something that's I don't think I'm built for. But as time went on, I kind of like created the team Infinity Forge. We competed in like a tournament or two. Didn't go that well, but as time went on, I realized that I kind of really wanted to start a business because I'd always been interested in business. I had a little bit of business experience from my time right out of high school. So I decided to make the jump, and I invested some money in getting a logo done, a professional logo done. Worked with a designer for like 2-3 months to make sure we got the right thing put together because I didn't want to just buy a pre-made logo. I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah.
And then from that point forward, we just kind of ran with it. It's always interesting. People always tell you to make sure you have everything ready before you make a jump into everything. But I know that there's a few other situations where you could just jump into something and you just figure it out as you go along. Thankfully, I used some advice that I got from Gangstars' founder, and I was also a sponge when it came to absorbing any type of information and content I could from other organizations and like their stories. Mm-hmm. But as time went on, I realized that I was actually not only having a lot of fun creating the organization, but I know that the purpose underlying it was something that was big to me. And the reason I say that is because I had friends in the Vainglory community who come from all different walks of life. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's important because I personally feel that you can learn a lot from people that are nothing like you. So it's for that reason that part of the message on the Infinity Forge website's homepage is that it was meant to be an organization and a place for people from all walks of life to feel safe, to express themselves in whatever way they want to. Because I think creatives, whether it be graphics, video montages, etc., creatives are some of the most influential people in the world because of their ability to express themselves. So yes, I wanted Infinity Forge to be a quote unquote competitive gaming organization, but to me, I wanted it to be more than that. I wanted to build a family atmosphere, and I think one of the prime examples is with Coco, because he's actually someone that I've become pretty close with over the course of like almost a year. And although the Critical Ops team has had its members come and go, Coco's been someone who's been very influential. He's a very smart kid. I know that regardless of his time in esports, I know that he'll be successful in whatever he does, and that's kind of one of the purposes. I understand that not everything is permanent, but I want to make sure that the people who join Infinity Forge, whether it be temporary or forever, if they take the time to meet, not only introduce themselves to myself, but to the people that are in the community, I want them to actually feel welcomed. I want them to feel I want them to feel that they're a part of something greater, and that's kind of always been the goal.
They're definitely you guys instill great morals and values, and even it says on your website, hard work, honesty, loyalty, diligence, teamwork, and the most important one to me is family. Because a lot of people spend their times playing these esports games, and regardless if they want to be competitive or not, you actually really do get to know people on a personal level, whether you've seen them or not, because you're talking to them day to day. And I think the family thing is a very, very important thing. And I've noticed that you guys definitely stick to your motto, and you're very true and honest about it. I've seen your community, I've seen your Discord page grow. So, how long have you guys really been Infinity Forge? Because I know Coco's been in the COPS community way longer than I have, and you were in Vainglory before that, so it has to be at least a year to 2 years. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think the more accurate way to put it was, I guess, I'd probably say it was probably around a year exactly, because in the starting stages of getting the website built, like actually getting the brand out there, it's obviously took a little bit of time. So I'd probably say as a noticeable figure in Vainglory and Critical Ops for less time, obviously, but I'd probably say just about a year, maybe like a year and like 2 months max.
Okay. So when you went to build this, obviously you got you said you were a sponge, and I'm also a sponge. I love to hear strategies and tactics and stuff. Well, you said you kind of formed it entrepreneurialist, where you kind of took that risk. At any point did you kind of like have that regret and be like, this, what am I doing? Or did you just always, this is what you want to do kind of thing?
I think those regrets are natural, especially if it's something that you're going to invest capital in. And it's something that every business owner knows that at one point or another you start to, I guess, reflect, especially if you're in, I guess, your eyes case, where I guess we try to be sponges and you try to learn. You have more of a, I guess, a tendency to really think about things. And that's what I noticed I do. But as far as, I guess, looking back and like being like, damn, do I regret doing this or etc. Not really. I can't really say I ever had one of those moments, simply because I knew that everything I'm working towards, or my goals, I guess, is what kind of, I guess, fogged my vision. Excuse me. And I think that's something, I wouldn't say that's important, but essentially it's kind of like you have to be willing to like go through the lows. Like, for example, at some point we lost our entire Critical Ops team, and it was just Coco at one point. And like, you have to be willing to go through the lows and understand that that's going to happen to everyone. And I guess the way I look at it is, if bad things happen to you and your organization, you're not unique. The phrase I think about is, it's not what happens to you that determines your future. It's what you do about what happens to you. Oh, wow. So that's just kind of the way I look at it. So for anyone who's listening to this, if you're having a tough time getting started, if you're having a tough time getting off the ground, understand that that's just part of the process. And like they say in the NBA and the NFL, just trust the process.
Absolutely. So you had mentioned anyone starting to get into this. Do you have any suggestions for someone who wants to take that leap, that jump, and start their team, and then maybe try and turn it into an org? What are your suggestions for someone like that?
First and foremost, I think it's important to understand there's a certain level of professionalism you have to have. Don't get me wrong. I do my best to be professional, and that the organization does as well, as including all the members who are involved. However, when we're off on our own Discord, like, it's obviously still the family atmosphere. However, what I'm trying to say is, you have to make sure you bring the professional atmosphere, and at least on social media, etc. You have to start with this. You have to be aware that people are watching you, and you are a representation of not only yourself, but the organization you wish to create at all times. And I think that the person you interviewed a few days ago from Third Sense Gaming made that statement as well. That if, for example, Team Solo Mid is looking into Critical Ops because the scene's developed more, they're going to look at your social media just like if you were applying for a job, and if they see you acting like a, for lack of a better word, idiot, they're not. That's going to hurt your chances, and it could really make you lose out an opportunity that could potentially, I guess, jumpstart your career into competitive gaming.
Absolutely.
But But as far as like starting an organization, I think the issue is, and we were talking about this a little earlier, is that it's almost too easy to become a esports organization because all you really need to do is buy a logo and a social media package. But I think the thing with that is there's a plethora of teams that claim to be esports organizations that stop functioning after about a month or 2 months. And it's even worse in the critical ops community because you have teams that start up and they'll become XYZ esports and then they literally fold after one tournament. So some level of dedication and understanding is needed. And I think a certain level of maturity, not age, is needed. Because I don't remember how old Reginald was when he started Team Solo Mid, but I mean he wasn't ancient, obviously. I just think it's a certain type of person. You need someone who understands that there's going to be ups and downs. Someone who understands that there is a business side to it. It isn't all just playing. Games. Essentially, there has to be a business development. Obviously, yourself, you have to be able to develop partners. I think differentiating between sponsorships and partnerships is important. Mm-hmm. So many people say they're sponsored, but they're really just partnered with a 10% off discount code. There's an immense difference, and I think being transparent as well is also very helpful. Having a team of people behind you who know at least different expertise, not only their platforms or their titles, for example, for the games. I think that's what's important as well. I think it's a lot to talk about in a few minute span because I don't want to rant because that's kind of what I end up doing because it used to frustrate me having to, I guess, differentiate Infinity Forge and myself from XYZ esports that would start up tomorrow and claim this and claim that. It's just, I think this is actually maybe a good idea for your own, for maybe another subject of critical points of, I guess, organization guidance.
Yeah, that's definitely a great idea. Because I mean, I came into the esports world, and I had previously been a player in old Counter-Strike, and I did a lot of research on it. I know it's going to be a growing world, but I really didn't know anything about this community and kind of about the whole being in the esports community. So I suffered from a lot of bad guidance from the beginning, and then met good people like Coco, Scumpy, that really helped me. Miko kind of helped me. You brought up a big point, though. It's the teams in maturity of just saying, hey, I just bought this, and then also talking about sponsorships and partnerships. When I come from like a TV and film background, and I know when you're partnered with someone, they are donating their goods to you to advertise their brand. Where you see a lot of kids out here say they're sponsored by XYZ, and it's definitely a miscommunication of it. And I think a lot of it has to do with people just wanting to be relevant. Whereas our goals, like I believe you and I have the same ideals, is like we want to help the community grow, we want to share our experiences, and also have a competitive team, but at the same time it should be family. Is that something like what you're also seeing in the community?
Yes, absolutely. And I do agree. I think we do have the same goals. And I also, to further your point about the whole sponsorship partnership thing, like I was also talking about, it gets even more ridiculous because like sometimes the language of which these some people use kind of throws me off a little bit. For example, I see this a lot, not only in critical ops, but in the Vainglory scene. You'll see a post come up about they quote unquote acquired a new team or acquired a new organization. And I don't know if it's just something with the lack of, I guess, vocabulary, but the word acquired is involves the exchanging of capital. So if there's no capital exchange, there's no quote unquote acquiring. And I guess that's just a little bit of a hot button for me that bothered me a little bit. But I mean, I've gotten over it now because I just understand after some time I've realized it's just a word that's used to make a organization seem professional. Mm-hmm. So whenever I see the word acquired, I kind of just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Like for us, like we acquired a Call of Duty team and a CSGO team that we have under contract and are going to be paying salaries and stuff like that. Luckily we didn't have to purchase their rights because they didn't have a big kind of sale. You know, it's not like it's not like MLS soccer players or Euro soccer
Yeah,
players that you
where you have to buy out the contract.
yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, and it's a tough thing in this industry. I mean, I came from the fitness world where you see flagrant just people just throwing things around a lot just to get their post
Yep.
higher. And I jumped into this world, and I noticed that it's not at that scale yet because the fitness world is at least in America is a lot bigger until the NAC blows up a little more. But I started to see it kind of here, and I've seen what you're talking about. So I think a great idea would be to actually maybe do like a guideline kind of thing. So moving forward to that, what are your goals moving forward, and what are your future plans for Infinity Forge? I've seen, excuse me, mock-ups for your guys' jerseys and merchandise, and it looks very, very, very good, very clean, very sexy. Did you want to talk about that and how you guys went about that process? Because I know that's something that me personally, I'm trying to figure out as well.
Yeah, sure. As far as I guess the plans for the organization, as of right now, like you talked about in one of your prior episodes, is we're developing the academy. We're finally starting to get to work on that, making sure that we have practices regularly and have them scrimming against teams that are either at their skill level or a little bit higher. That's all 100% through Coco. Coco, I know, is working behind the scenes not only to do that, but to also make sure that the Critical Ops team is at peak performing shape, because I know that they've just recently started working on, like, I guess, more of a rigorous practice. So I'm pretty proud of them and their recent performance against Sector 7. I know that we didn't win, but it was just awesome seeing them. It was awesome seeing them have fun. And although the results weren't what we desired, it was just awesome seeing them have fun and competing. And I think just genuinely trying their hardest. And I know that they're just going to get better. So that's a real quick shout out to them. I know that they're working hard, and those guys, every time I join the Discord, they make me laugh at least once. It's they're some characters, man. But going forward in other titles, I know that we want to kind of primarily stay mobile, but as far as the other mobile esports out there aren't really any large ones that I guess could dictate us, I guess, committing to full force. I know Clash Royale is something that's pretty big right now. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah, it's like a $1 million crown tournament. Is like the grant, like I guess the total prize pool for this tournament that they have going on that's being streamed on Twitch and stuff.
Yeah, it's big. Clash Royale has jumped. I actually started playing that game when it first came out and watched like one of the very first like live stream events for it. I know they're also now part of VSL. Obviously, Valiance is doing tournaments. It's actually blowing up pretty big. As far as getting into that scene, I don't know, because it's I know they offer solo but also like team play, so that would just be something that demographically you'd have to look into. Plus also I'm sure it brings us a young demographic again.
Yeah, it's the issue is that the player base, I think, is a little bit more on the youthful side, and that I agree with you that a lot of research into the demographic and I guess the overall concept of the game is needed. I have a few people who are, I guess, quote unquote experts, you could say, but I'm just having a hard time committing to, I guess, investing fully into the scene because it seems to be a little bit pay to win. I know that's going to rub some people the wrong way, but
I agree with you 100%. That game is pay to win, in my opinion, and I ran into that problem once I got into higher levels. So
yeah. It's definitely a problem. As far as all the that's I guess sums up the esports plans. The Vainglory team's back to work practicing, so I guess you'll be able to see our progress in the next tournaments coming up, and I'm really excited to see what happens. The Vainglory team actually made top 8 in North American Challengers League.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's not congratulations to me, it's congratulations to them. I know they work hard. We made a roster change that really helped mid tournament, and I'm pretty excited because they're talented kids, and they know they deserve to be in the Vainglory and play in the competitive scene. And it was their first taste against playing I guess former pros, which was Vision Gaming, a very, very talented team. And then this upcoming, I think it's this weekend, we actually play against Team Solo Mid in the Halcyon Elite Summer Invitational. And we're pretty pumped about that, but we know that we have our work cut out for us. So essentially with those two titles, it's more of a keeping to it, keep grinding the axe and keep going to work. But as far as all the jerseys and the hoodies, I think that's a little bit of that's something that I think is a personal preference. But I originally was going to go with gamer apparel. But after some, I guess, issues in communication, I decided that it took a little bit too long and I didn't really like the feel I was getting from them. So I did more searching. I looked into meta threads. I looked into a bunch of the big suppliers. And my overall goal was to have something attractive looking that didn't feel like cheap quality, that people, when they put it on, they're going to be like, wow, this is really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at Raven, and I've always loved Raven. And I have a little bit of familiarity with them because of Hammers and Gangstars, both having their apparel through them. I actually had a Gangstars jersey that I was surprised how well it felt. I was like how good it felt on my skin. I was like, this is amazing. I'd wear Infinity Forge stuff more often, but I think I'd get in a little bit of trouble with my girlfriend. So after emailing Raven and just talking about the concept with them, they were very, very helpful, and I was super, super satisfied with I guess the attention to detail that they took in the design and like the willingness to work through certain issues I had with X or Y parts of the design. And I would recommend them to anyone because Raven is phenomenal. The gear they put together is phenomenal. Everything they do was world class, from the service to the designing itself to the actual apparel. Everything was phenomenal.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. So this is a question that I've kind of posed as people, not necessarily in the org interviews, but do you feel like when these other orgs come in and they're based on other sports, eSports, do you think the org has any responsibility as far as providing not only like support and friendship to these new COPS teams, but do you think that they should or should not provide tools for their team?
Tools is in what, like periphery and etc.
Yeah, like as far as like, so say you have your COPS team, do you think that they should provide headsets or anything to help their team play at a better level?
I think it's important to answer your question. Yeah, it is important. And I think it's something that is obviously a goal that like every organization wants to be able to provide their players with with higher level equipment. And I just think right now the issue with the critical ops scene, and this is something we also were talking about, is that I guess because of the prize pools, like for example, being not incredibly high and with the volatile situation of the rosters, for example, I know that you just recently started doling out contracts, and I think that's intelligent because of how quickly players are looking to jump ship after like one tournament loss. Where's the return on your investment if you invested quote unquote like I would say like $60 to $80 on like a headset or maybe you even purchase some new devices. Like how easily it is for the teams to disband almost overnight. Some don't even make it through the night. I just think for bigger organizations like Echo Fox, Team Liquid, Cloud9, for those organizations to actually take a serious look at critical ops, there has to be some stability. And with stability comes rewards.
Correct. I highly agree with that. And maybe from a business standpoint too, you had mentioned the prize pools. Maybe the prize pools aren't big enough yet either, because if you look at your ROI, instantly you're negative based on these tournament prize pools. And I'm not saying it's all about the cash by any means, but so say an org owner decides to purchase out an iPad for one of their players, or they want to get them a headset. You said $60 to $80. So say they don't play in a tournament for 4 or 5 months and they're under contract for whatever it is, there's no return on investment right there, and that's your automatically a loss of $60, $80. But some people that might not seem like a big deal, but it really is.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is understandably that it's still a business. There's still a business side to it. It just involves gaming. And I agree with you that like that's kind of a big deal, especially for smaller organizations. I understand that there's a want to please the players, and I know that players want rewards. However, I personally feel that with performance comes rewards, and that's just my takeaway, obviously. But I think that there's too much fluctuation, and with the prize pools being so small, for example, if you bought an entire 4-man, 5-man roster brand new iPads. And if they're the iPad Pros, you're probably spending about $5,000.
Yeah,
and I know and I know that the prize pool is currently, I don't know if they're around that range yet, or at least in the more major organizations. I know Coco was telling me that they in like Critical League and a few others, they only give away cases. And as a competitive gaming company owner, if you're looking for a return on your investment, 150 cases isn't going to cut it, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I believe Valiance does cash prize, and then the unknown cash prize for the LAN is still up in the air. But ESL did do $500 for each winner, each week for the major.
Yeah, that I remember.
But yeah, I agree. Like the cases, I get why CFE does it, because that's what the kids want. The kids want those cases, and that's one of their appeal to play the game, because it's not a pay to win game. But at the same time, it is you do need an ROI as a business owner, because I mean, if you said it, if you buy a team whole set of iPad Pros, that's a lot of money. And if there's no tournaments where you can win that back, it just doesn't make sense to do that. So
well, it's that they not only do they have to be tournaments with that prize pool, your team also has to win.
Correct, that's true.
And I think the reason that's the biggest obstacle right now, and this is something that's been, I guess, part of the issue I've had with the Critical Ops esports side, is it's even if you have your team with the most dominant equipment, state-of-the-art iPads, brand new headsets, they could still lose because the team that they are competing against is hacking or using some type of cheats to get an advantage. And I think that for Critical Ops to get to the point where bigger organizations actually look into it and take it seriously, there has to be a really like they did recently, a harder crackdown on hacking to the point where it's not even an ability. Like you can't even do it anymore. And I know that that's kind of a lot to ask, but like even Coco was telling me that ranked queue is terrible right now with how bad the hacks are.
I believe they're doing a big ban hammer and stuff. I think what they need to do is have some sort of like ban system implemented into the game, because it's to the point where now, like if you try and reach a mod, it's there's so many hackers that a mod isn't going to be able to come in time and stuff. And like with the operative accounts, anyone can just re-sign up. So, but I mean that's besides the point. But I do agree that that's definitely hurting the competitive scene as well. One of the things I like to talk about too is, personally, I noticed that you're a streamer. And
Yes.
you do stream almost daily and definitely weekly. Do you feel like that's a big part of representing your org, or is that something you do individually just for your own personal reasons?
Well, it was kind of something I started doing on my own. It was right around I'd probably say a few weeks after the org was founded, and I was just kind of doing it for fun. I just wanted to, I guess, experiment with it. It was something I've always wanted to try, so I went ahead and did it. And through streaming, not only did I guess, promote myself and the poor Evangelion player that I am, but I made a lot of friends who've literally become either guild mates in Vainglory or people who are part of my organization, like Nate El Sucio, someone who's a good friend of mine who I trust immensely. And it was all because of streaming. So I think it was a good outlet to help get the organization's, I guess, base off the ground. But I just did it for me, honestly. It was fun. And after becoming a Mob Crush partner, it was just kind of like you hit a goal and you achieved it. And I don't stream as often as I should anymore, but I'm trying to pick it back up.
Yeah, but that's okay, because people don't really understand how busy, and we talked about this earlier prior to the stream here, that as an owner, you're busy with a lot of stuff, and that doesn't even include your real life. So that's why I give credit and props to people that do try and stream as much as they can. But that brings me to another point. How important do you feel it is to build your organization organically?
110%. It's more important than anything, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is, obviously, you want the partnerships and sponsorships, and you want the performances and tournaments. But I can't tell you how many organizations I've seen. I won't name any names. You could just go on Twitter and they actually buy followers. They do this, they do that. It's just, I think it's incredibly important legacy. Organic growth is something that you can't lose. However, artificial growth is something that you can almost lose instantaneously or even overnight.
Because I mean, it takes a lot of time to build an organic following, and I see some of these players in the critical ops scene with like a massive amount of followers, and I just kind of wondering like, how does your reach and stuff even work when I see a post and then there's like one like or there's only one retweet? To me, that's telling me that there's no reach
Engagement.
and no engagement. Yeah, and it's something I think that also goes to the maturity of this community. The community as a whole, I believe, does need to grow up a little bit. And I'm not disrespecting the COPS community, but there's certain aspects that I think that do need to happen for bigger teams or bigger organizations to come into it. What would it be a suggestion for you as an org owner to suggest to like some of the community?
I think that's kind of a hard question, but I'll do my best to, I guess, give one idea is consistency and commitment to a team. It's hard to pick up a team when the pieces are always moving around. It's like buying a car and you have to change out the pieces every now and then, or change out parts of the engine. Instead of having to just change the oil and do maintenance and keep the machine going, you have to replace it altogether, and that makes it so much harder to be, effective. A lot of these teams, after they lose one tournament, they get upset, they disband, they leave, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, because the longer you play together as a team, the more you'll build synergy, the more it's just nothing but benefits. I understand, however, that sometimes team managers, like for example, Coco, may have to make decisions on the roster. However, you shouldn't be shuffling players every single day. It's not gonna help team chemistry regardless of how talented they are. I mean, the Miami Heat, the first year they were together, they lost to the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals, and no one jumped ship. So,
yeah, I highly agree. I think that the family aspect that we talked about earlier and the chemistry and the bonding, like you can't replace that. And not only that, but everything becomes second nature after that. You look at any professional sports team, any esports team that is very, very successful, it's because they have that. Their owners went through, let's say, the draft process, and they build around their foundation players, and they build a team around them, and that's the recipe for success. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about in your organization, COPS related, Vainglory related? Anything exciting, any surprises, or do you want to give any shout outs to your org members that really have helped you come along this way?
If I was to do any and all of that, I'd obviously give a shout out to Coco. He's been an incredible help through all the little things he's done, and obviously all the big things, from team managing to even doing graphics to just being a good kid and a good friend. He's part of what keeps the organization running, because I know that he deals with all things critical ops, and I know that sometimes that keeps him up late at night asking for people DMing him about scrims at like 4 a.m, among other things. Also, everybody who I guess helped found Infinity Forge, all my friends who played Vainglory with me, they're part of the reason I'm even here today, because a lot of them felt like I was maybe biting off more than I can chew. And then it's funny, I had someone DM me a couple of weeks ago. It's like, it's kind of interesting. I kind of thought you were crazy, but now I feel like I'm kind of dumb. And I won't say that person's name, but it's just interesting. You have to have a goal and be obsessed with it almost.
Yeah. You have to also believe in in yourself too. Believe in the process, like you said earlier.
Yeah, like I said, regardless of what happens to you, it's what you do about what happens to you. So there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. You just got to fight through it. And as far as any surprises we have upcoming, I think we'll be doing another apparel giveaway probably in like next month or so. So that's kind of exciting. I know that the apparel came out really, really well, really, really nice. And it's something that I'm super proud of to show off and I guess give out, because we already had someone win, and we just sent out their apparel yesterday. So that's hopefully awesome. They get it soon.
Right on. The last thing I want to touch on, I know you touched on it earlier, is the IF Academy. I think this is a great thing, and we did an interview about it. But was this something that you and Coco kind of planned out together? Coco had the idea, because it's something that I think is great for the community. I actually already know that you guys have a whole roster, pretty much for the academy people.
It was primarily Coco's idea, if I remember correctly, but I know I was really working. I did all the the I guess the grunt work as far as creating a development program and recording results and scrimmages, etc. We have a program that we have put in place, and I think the academy was primarily just to help develop these kids, the people who are either semi-pros or want to be pros, because I think right now in the critical ops community, it's almost hard to differentiate.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of teach them etiquette. And it's something I had a meeting with the guys yesterday. I'm like, look, understand that you're representation of not only yourself but the organization, and that's not just me. That's going forward from any organization that you will be a part of in the future. So the goal is just to make them into better players and better people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'll help a lot, because right now there isn't a lot of structure in the critical ops community aside from tournaments. And I know that the critical ops academy team's working on scrimming every day. Coco's always trying to find more higher level members, and it's just exciting, honestly. And I think Coco could probably talk about it a little bit more, what his plans are if he wants to. It's just something I'm excited about, but I did a little bit of the laying the foundation. It's really up to Coco to, I guess, keep the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think separates you guys from, so I know there's Critical Academy and there's IF Academy, and they're bickering back and forth who started what. That doesn't matter. That's beyond the point. The thing that I think separates you guys is that you're actually taking these players and making them well-rounded, not only in the game, but as far as being professional in the esports community. That is a very important aspect. You're teaching them the right morals and values, and you're expressing them. Not only are you representing the team, the academy, but you're also representing Infinity Forge, and that's a big deal for people to either grasp or not grasp.
No, I agree, and I think it's more of a. I personally never like to brag or use any type of bravado. So it's honestly just it's awesome. I know that as times went on, people actually know who we are in the critical ops community, and I attribute that to Coco, and it's awesome. However, people knowing who you are sometimes doesn't mean they always want you to succeed, unfortunately. But it's honestly just an awesome ride, and I think IF Academy's purpose is simply, like you said, to make players better gamers and be able to handle themselves on a professional level.
Absolutely. Coco, are you there? If you're there, say hello.
Hello.
Do you want to add anything to the IF Academy talk?
Not really. I talked most about it in the interview I had.
Okay. Do you want to tell us who the current academy members are, if you have them off the top of your head?
We have a few people left. Recently, I know some of our academy members that we had. Here's the hard part about running the academy, and it's troublesome, especially in this community. Like we were mentioning earlier, the community and the players' consistency is really off. And basically we have, and we still have, and we had a bunch of applications go in, and a lot of people want to join, but most of them still want to join just because we are IF, and it's kind of hard to be able to find people who actually want to learn and grow. And a few of our players decided to, take a step forward and move on to a different org a little too early. I'm not going to mention any names though, but at least they feel happy. Some of them are still together and in an org. But other than that, we still have people in here. Dubs, I know you know Dub personally. He used to play for D2R, the one. We also have Hawk and to still grow the academy. We have a lot of applications go in, and just trying to find the perfect people who actually want to take this opportunity and give it to them.
Yeah, they want to actually learn the process rather than jump on a big name, and
Yeah.
it's hard to differentiate that. I'm sure it is, but I'm glad you guys are really doing this. Like I said before, this is a big growing stepping stone for the community, and unless you guys have anything else to say, I'm very content, and I'd like to say thank you very very much for taking time out of your day to spend it with Critical Points. So thank you, Awaken, and thank you, Coco.
Thank you, Legacy. I appreciate it. It was awesome being here.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
no problem.
guys. For Critical Points, I'm Legacy saying peace.